The Eidolon creaked like an old man's bones. I felt the vibration through the deck, plating under my boots, a dull tremor that never stopped. In the silence between engine pulses, it almost sounded like the ship was groaning at us, begging us to turn back. We didn't. Prospectors never did. The bridge smelled like metal and coffee that had been reheated too many times. Every surface was scratched, worn, patched with strips of mismatched plating. It wasn't much of a home, but it was ours. Trinity leaned against the console, arms folded, her eyes flicking over the shifting numbers on the display. She had that look, one part suspicion, one part hunger. "You seeing this?" she asked. I dragged my gaze from the forward viewport. The void stretched out black and endless, broken only by the dull red glow of a gas giant far off to port. Our scanners showed a single sphere drifting in the dark, its gravity unbound from any sun. A rogue planet, lost, wandering. Energy signature, Trinity said. Not natural. Morpheus gave a dry laugh from the navigation chair. His voice always carried that lazy humor, like nothing could surprise him anymore. Artificial, huh? Out here? That's a long way from any trade lanes. Long way from anything. I didn't answer right away. My throat felt tight. I watched the scanner lines crawl across the screen. They pulsed when they hit the signal, like sonar against a sunken wreck. "It's strong," Trinity said. "Powerful. Stable. That's not a derelict. That's running." "Question is," Morpheus said, swiveling lazily in his chair, "do we want to know what's running?" I rubbed at the scar across my jaw. Habit. It always itched when I felt uneasy. We didn't come out here to turn back every time the dark looked at us funny. "Deckard," Trinity said, her voice low now. "This isn't a mineral scan. This isn't a salvage beacon. This is something alive, or something trying to be." The hum of the engines deepened as Arlen, our pilot, adjusted course. He was silent as always, eyes on his controls, hands steady. Arlen never wasted words, but Milo did. The kid popped up from the lower deck, greasy hands waving like he'd just wrestled a machine back into life. "I just fixed the starboard thruster, and you're already steering us into trouble?" "Figures. I swear this ship eats itself alive." Morpheus grinned at him. "Relax, Milo. Deckard's got a death wish. We're just along for the ride." I heard that. I muttered. "Good. Maybe you'll think twice before." Milo's words cut off when he saw the display. His grin slipped. "Wait, that's not natural, is it?" Nobody answered. The silence on the bridge grew thick. I felt my heartbeat in my teeth. Out here in the black, silence meant thought, and thought meant fear. Trinity broke it. "Deckard, if this is corporate, we're stepping into someone else's claim. You know what happens when we trespass." Her words dragged me back years, to another planet, another claim, men with guns and insignias painted on their armor. A gun pressed to Morpheus's head, me forced to sign away the find. I hadn't forgotten. "Not corporate," I said. "Signal's too old. Look at the decay rate. This isn't mapped, not tagged. Nobody owns this rock." Milo swallowed. "Then who built it?" That question hung in the air like frost. Arlen's voice, quiet as always, broke it. "We'll find out when we land." The planet filled the viewport as we drifted closer. Its surface was a black sheen, almost reflective. No oceans, no atmosphere to speak of. Just dark stones stretching in every direction. It looked like a marble of obsidian floating in the void. Cold, dead, lifeless. Except it wasn't. Energy grids spiking again, Trinity whispered. "Deckard, this planet's wired." Morpheus whistled low. "A factory world? Out here?" "Maybe." I leaned closer to the display, my stomach twisting. The readings were sharp, patterned. Not noise, not random. But if it's still running, then something's still using it. Morpheus finished. The bridge went quiet again. Even Milo didn't crack a joke this time. We burned atmosphere, what little of it there was, and descended. The hull shuddered, the Eidolon's old shielding groaning against the friction. The planet rose up at us, black and glassy, broken only by jagged mountains that looked carved rather than formed. "I've got a heat bloom," Trinity said suddenly. 90 clicks east. "Big. Steady. That's our landing zone," I said. "Deckard, We didn't crawl out here to turn back now. Arlen angled us down without another word. The ship rattled, moaned, then steadied as he fought the descent. The planet's surface rushed up, smooth at first, then dotted with strange geometric breaks. From above, they looked like scars cut into the stone. Straight lines. Too straight for nature. We came down hard. The landing strut screamed but held. Dust plumed up around us, though there was no wind to carry it. Just a brief halo of gray, settling back into stillness. The silence pressed against the hull. I felt it in my chest, heavy. Milo muttered, almost to himself, "It's too quiet." "Welcome to prospecting," Morpheus said. "You'll get used to it." I unbuckled, my joints aching. The Eidolon was old, but so was I. Too many years chasing ghosts in the dark. Too many nights wondering if I'd live to see morning. But this felt different. We cycled the airlock and stepped onto the surface. My boots crunched against stone that glittered faintly like ground glass. The horizon was endless black. Above us, the stars burned sharp and cold. No sunrise, no sunset, just eternal night. Hell of a place, Morpheus said, visor lights cutting across the terrain. "Deckard," Trinity whispered, "look." I followed her beam. The ground ahead split open in a jagged line, a canyon stretching farther than I could see. Down in the dark, deep within, lights pulsed. Artificial, cold, like a heartbeat. The energy's signature. I felt my stomach drop. "Factory," I said, though the word felt thin in my mouth. Trinity shook her head. "That's no factory I've ever seen." Milo's voice cracked in my headset. "So what is it?" None of us had the answer. But as we stood there, staring into the dark wound in the planet's surface, the lights below shifted. Faint at first, then steady like something had noticed us. And for the first time since I set foot on a dead world, I felt it staring back. The canyon yawned beneath us like a throat cut into the planet. 100 meters wide at least, maybe more, stretching into the dark until the horizon swallowed it. My visor lights barely touched the edges. We stood at the lip, 5 shadows against eternity. Dust clung to our boots. The air was thin, dead, but my suit filtered it, pumping a steady rhythm against my ribs. Every breath felt too loud. Trinity scanned again, her wrist pad glowing in the dark. "Readings are clustered down there. Power nodes. Grid's alive." Milo crouched, running a gloved hand across the glassy stone. His voice cracked high and nervous. "How long you think this has been running? 100 years? 1,000? Morpheus leaned on his rifle, visor glowing pale. He always carried it, even when we weren't supposed to. Doesn't matter how long. Matters who kept it running. I crouched closer to the edge, staring down. The lights pulsed faintly, spaced like veins in rock. I try not to imagine blood running through them. Arlen stood a few meters back, silent as ever. His visor reflected the faint glow. He didn't speak, but I knew his stance stiff ready. He didn't like this place either. "I keep my comm options." Milo laughed nervously. "Option 1, we leave. Option 2, we definitely leave. Option 3, we fall in and die." Trinity ignored him. "There's a path down. Looks carved. Switchbacks along the wall. Not natural." Morpheus shifted, scanning the ridge with his rifle. If someone carved it, they meant for people to come down here. Or things. The word things stuck in my head. I swallowed hard, then stepped toward the carved path. My boots scraped stone, the sound sharp in the silence. We didn't come this far to stand at the edge. Deckard, Trinity started, but I was already moving. The path sloped down, narrow, winding along the canyon wall. I kept my hand against the stone, half for balance, half to feel it. Cold, too smooth in places, as if machines had cut it. Milo's voice chattered in my headset as he followed. "You ever think about how weird this is? A planet drifting for God knows how long, middle of nowhere, and there's a what-if factory just sitting here waiting for us. Like waiting." "Shut up, kid," Morpheus muttered behind him. But I knew what Milo meant. It felt wrong, like a trap left open. We descended for what felt like hours, the canyon swallowing us whole. The deeper we went, the brighter the lights grew. Faint pulses at first, then lines, grids, patterns. They crawled along the walls like veins, humming faintly. At one switchback, Trinity crouched low, visor beam focused on an inset panel in the rock. Look, I leaned closer. Metal. A smooth plate set into the stone, etched with symbols. They weren't any language I knew. Sharp angles, interlocking shapes. My stomach tightened. Writing? Milo asked. Or schematics, Trinity said. Either way, it's intentional. Morpheus tapped it with his glove. Still warm. Don't touch it, I snapped. He grinned behind the visor. Relax, Deckard. If it wanted me dead, I'd already be ash. But he pulled his hand back. We kept moving. The path twisted down and down until the canyon opened into a vast cavern. I stopped dead at the sight. The factory stretched out below us. A city of machines, carved into the planet's guts. Towers of metal and stone fused together, glowing faintly with cold light. Conveyor bridges spanned the gaps, massive pistons pumping, gears the size of buildings grinding slow and steady. The air itself shimmered faintly, heat rising from furnaces buried deep, and all of it moving. Alive. I whispered it before I could stop myself. It's still working. Trinity's breath crackled in my headset. God, Deckard, it's enormous. I've never seen anything like it. Milo's voice trembled. It's building. I can see arms moving. There, look. He was right. Far below, massive mechanical limbs swung with precision, gripping shapes I couldn't fully see. Flesh? Metal? Both? They disappeared into furnaces, emerged on belts, reassembled by other arms. The motion was hypnotic, endless. Morpheus lowered his rifle, his usual grin gone. This ain't a mine. This is a womb. His words sank into me like a knife. A womb. Breeding ground. For what? Arlen's voice came through, flat, quiet. Movement. I snapped my head toward the far end of the cavern. Figures walked the bridges. At first I thought they were machines, metal shapes too tall, too thin. But then my visor picked out cloth. Robes. They moved in clusters, slow, deliberate, as if patrolling. Hoods covered their faces, their hands hidden in long sleeves. They didn't speak, didn't look up, just glided across the metal like ghosts. Milo cursed softly. Who the hell are they? Cultists, Morpheus muttered. Cultists of what? Trinity hissed. Nobody answered. I crouched low, my knees aching. My heart hammered against my ribs. They weren't supposed to be here. This wasn't supposed to be inhabited. A rogue planet, empty, lifeless. And yet, the robed figures reached a platform where the mechanical arms labored. They lifted their hands, gestured in strange patterns. The arms responded. They shifted rhythm, adjusting angles as if obeying. The factory wasn't automated. It was controlled. Milo's voice was barely a whisper. Deckard, they're running it. I felt sweat bead under my helmet. My mouth tasted like copper. Trinity whispered, we need to get out. Now, this isn't salvage. This isn't ours. She was right. Every nerve in my body screamed to climb back, to run, to leave this planet to the dark. But I stared down at the endless machines, the shapes on the belts, the robed figures controlling all, and I couldn't move. Because in that moment, one of the mechanical arms stopped. It froze mid-motion, as if listening. Then with a slow, grinding creak, it turned. Not toward the robed figures. Not toward the machines. Toward us. The cavern lights flickered, and in the silence that followed, I realized the factory knew we were here. The mechanical arm didn't move like a machine. It moved like an animal. It turned toward us with a slow inevitability, joints flexing in silence until its massive claw pointed straight at the ridge where we crouched. Lights along its frame pulsed brighter, almost alive. Nobody breathed. Milo's voice trembled in my comm. Deckard, it sees us. Stay low, I hissed. Don't move. The arm froze, claw extended. Then, with a shudder, it slammed down into the canyon wall, just meters from us. Stone shattered, dust blasted against my visor. The ground shook under my boots. Trinity shouted, move. We scattered, stumbling along the switchback path as the arm tore chunks from a cliff. The sound was deafening, metal grinding against stone, a scream that echoed through the cavern. Milo tripped, scrambling to his feet. It's coming up. It's climbing the wall. I looked back. The arm wasn't just reaching anymore. Segments of its frame unfolded, spindly supports stabbing into the rock, hauling it upward like a spider dragging itself from the pit. Each movement was too fast, too precise. Deckard, Trinity's voice cut through the panic. We need cover. I scanned the path. Ahead, a fissure in the rock, maybe an opening. There. Go. We sprinted, boots hammering stone. The fissure loomed closer, barely wide enough for us to squeeze through. I shoved Milo inside, then Trinity, then turned to cover the rear. Morpheus stood there, rifle raised, grinning like a madman. Morpheus, move. I shouted. He fired. The rifle barked, muzzle flashes cutting against the dark. The round sparked against the arm's plating, ricocheting uselessly. The claw swung toward him. Morpheus! Trinity screamed. He didn't flinch. He squeezed the trigger, laughing under his breath. Come on, you bastard. The arm struck. It happened faster than I could move. The claw clamped around him with a crack like breaking bone. His laughter cut off in a wet gasp. The arm lifted, hauling him into the air like a doll. Morpheus! Milo shrieked. I surged forward before I could think. My hands clawed at the rock, desperate, useless. He dangled above us, body jerking, blood spraying across the cliff as the claw crushed tighter. His visor cracked, a hiss of escaping air fogging around his head. For a moment, a horrible moment, his eyes found mine through the broken glass. Wide, red, pleading. Then the arm tore him apart. I froze. My mind blanked, my throat locked. Blood rained down the canyon wall, droplets hissing against glowing metal below. Pieces of him hit the conveyor belts far beneath, vanishing into the factory's endless churn. Trinity's scream shattered me back in emotion. Deckard! I stumbled backward into the fissure as the arm swung again, slamming against the opening, sparks cascading around us. Stone cracked, dust choking the air. Go! I shouted, shoving them deeper into the narrow tunnel. The arm clawed at the entrance, scraping, reaching, too big to follow. For now, we pushed deeper, lights cutting through choking dust. My chest heaved, lungs burning. My ears still rang with the sound of bone breaking. Milo's voice shook, high and wild. He's dead. Oh God, he's dead. It just... Shut up, Trinity snapped, though her voice cracked too. Keep moving. I staggered, my boots slipping on the uneven floor. My hands trembled so hard I could barely hold my rifle. Every time I blinked, I saw Morpheus's face, his eyes, the crack of his visor. He was gone. Just like that. Gone. The tunnel sloped downward, twisting deeper into the planet. Behind us, the arms scraped against the entrance, metal shrieking against stone. It couldn't follow. Not yet, but its sound echoed after us, hunting. Milo gasped. We shouldn't be here. We need to get back to the ship. Deckard, we need to go back. We can't, I said, my voice raw. Not with that thing on the ridge. Trinity's light cut across the walls, revealing more metal plates embedded in the rock. Symbols etched deep, glowing faintly. The whole tunnel felt like a vein feeding the factory below. She whispered, "This isn't just a canyon. It's built, designed. This whole planet is a machine." I wanted to tell her she was wrong. That it was impossible. But I couldn't, because deep inside, I knew she was right. We stumbled into a wider chamber. The ceiling arched high, lined with rib-like supports that glowed faintly. In the center stood a pillar of machinery, cables snaking into the walls, pulsing with cold light. The hum of power was stronger here, vibrating through my bones. Milo dropped to his knees, clutching his helmet. "We shouldn't be here. We shouldn't. Get up," I barked. "Milo, get up." He shook his head. It killed him like nothing. Like he was nothing. Trinity crouched beside him, gripping his shoulders. "Listen to me. We keep moving. We get out. That's how we make it mean something. You hear me? That's how." Her voice cracked, but she held firm. I turned, scanning the chamber. My rifle felt heavy in my hands, but useless. What good was it against something that could crush a man like paper? The pillar pulsed again, brighter this time. The light crawled up the cables, spreading along the walls. Symbols glowed in sequence, patterns like circuits waking up. Then I heard it. A voice. Not words. Not language I understood. Just a low, mechanical whisper, layered with static, vibrating through the chamber. My teeth rattled. My vision blurred. Milo screamed, clapping his hands over his ears. "Make it stop! Make it stop!" Trinity winced, clutching her head. "Deckard, what is that?" I couldn't answer. My mouth was dry, my chest tight. The whisper wasn't in my ears. It was in my skull. The pillar's light flared, and in the glow, I saw shapes moving in the far passage. Figures in robes, gliding toward us. Trinity's voice dropped to a whisper. "They're here. The cultists." Milo backed against the wall, shaking. "We're trapped." I raised my rifle, though my hands trembled so badly I could barely aim. The whisper pressed harder, like claws scraping the inside of my skull. And then, from behind us, the arm struck the wall again. The chamber shuddered, dust raining from the ceiling. The cultists kept coming, unhurried, robes brushing the floor. The whisper grew louder. I realized, in that moment, that Morpheus's death had only been the beginning. We were already swallowed. The chamber lights pulsed, washing the walls in cold blue. The whisper in my skull sharpened until it felt like needles pricking behind my eyes. The cultists drew closer, their robes shifting in the glow. They didn't hurry. They didn't need to. Their steps were steady, patient, as if they already knew we couldn't escape. Milo shook against the wall, helmet clutched between his gloved hands. "They're not human. They can't be human." Trinity aimed her sidearm, breath ragged. "Deckard, what do we do?" Behind us, the mechanical arm hammered the rock again. The sound was like thunder, stone fracturing, dust falling in choking sheets. We were caught between the hammer and the knife. I forced my voice steady. "We move. Now, left passage." Trinity pulled Milo to his feet, half dragging him. Arlen led the way, silent, rifle raised, his movements precise. He never showed fear, but his silence was heavier now, his shoulders rigid. We pushed into the left tunnel, lights cutting narrow beams through the dark. The whispers followed, echoing off stone, sliding between our skulls. My vision blurred at the edges, static crawling across the HUD. Milo stumbled. "It's inside my head. It's oh God. Keep moving." I snapped. The tunnel widened again, and we emerged into a cavern that made my stomach turn. Rows of cradles lined the floor. Not metal cradles, organic. Flesh grown into shapes, pulsing faintly, slick with fluids that dripped into troughs. Inside each, something moved. Trinity's voice broke. Jesus Christ. The things inside weren't fully formed. Twisted bodies of metal and sinew, arms welded with blades, torsos caged in steel ribs. Their eyes flickered with faint light, opening, closing, opening again. They were alive, growing. Milo gagged inside his helmet. "It's birthing them." The cradles stretched into the dark, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. An assembly line of nightmares. Machines lifted dripping tubes, injected fluids, cut and soldered living tissue with sparks. The smell, even through my filters, was rot and ozone. One of the creatures shifted in its cradle. Its head twitched, metal jaw clamping, grinding against its own teeth. A wet gurgle leaked from its throat. Another one lifted a hand, too long, fingers tipped with steel claws, and scraped against the edge of the cradle. Sparks flew. Arlen raised his rifle. I stopped him with a hand. "No shots. Not unless we have to." His visor turned toward me, unreadable. Then he lowered it just slightly. We moved along the edge of the chamber, boots sinking into slick patches of fluid. The whisper never stopped, syncing with the pulses of the machines, like a chant. Trinity muttered under her breath, voice trembling. "This isn't random. This is ritual." I didn't answer. Halfway across, when the cradle split, the sound was wet, tearing, followed by a metallic screech. The creature inside convulsed, ripping free of the organic sack. It fell to the floor in a heap, metal limbs clattering, flesh slapping against stone. Milo screamed. The creature rose. It was half human, half machine. A skull-like face fused with a mask of iron, eyes glowing pale. Tubes pumped fluids through exposed veins threaded with copper wire. Its limbs were uneven, one arm a welded blade, the other a claw of bone reinforced with steel. It turned toward us. "Run," I whispered. The thing shrieked, a sound like tearing metal mixed with a dying animal, and lunged. Arlen fired. The blast lit the chamber, the round slamming into its torso. It staggered, flesh bursting, but it didn't fall. It kept coming, screeching louder. Trinity yanked Milo forward. "Move!" We bolted along the edge, slipping, stumbling. The creature gave chase, claws gouging the floor, metal grinding as it dragged its broken body after us. More cradles stirred, fluids splashing as other hybrids twitched awake. A fire behind me, bullets sparking off its plating, tearing strips of flesh. It slowed, but only for a breath. The whisper surged louder, vibrating in my skull, words I couldn't understand pressing harder into my mind. The cultists, they were guiding it, calling it. We burst into another passage, the sound of the thing scraping behind us, echoing like hell itself was dragging chains. Milo stumbled again, sobbing. We can't get out." Trinity hauled him upright. "Yes, we can. Shut up and run." The tunnel narrowed, forcing us single file. The screeching behind us grew fainter, but not gone. It was following, hunting. We staggered into a smaller chamber, lit by a single shaft of pale light from above. A service shaft? An opening to the surface? I looked up, chest heaving. "Arlen, can you boost?" He scanned it quickly, visor reflecting the shaft's smooth walls. Too narrow for me. Maybe the kid. Milo's head jerked up. "What?" "No, I'm not. I can't." "You can," Trinity snapped. "You have to." The screeching grew louder, echoing closer. The hybrid was coming. I grabbed Milo by the shoulders, forcing his terrified eyes to mine. "Listen to me. You climb. You get to the surface. You call the Eidolon. Arlen can guide you from there. You understand?" He shook his head wildly. "No, I'll fall. Milo," I barked. His breath hitched. I softened my voice. "You're faster than us. It's the only way. Morpheus is gone. Don't make it for nothing." His lip trembled, but he nodded. Arlen crouched, boosting him toward the shaft. Milo scrabbled at the wall, boots slipping, then found a grip. He started to climb, slow, desperate, muttering curses with every move. The screeching erupted behind us as the hybrid burst into the chamber, claw dragging sparks from the floor. I raised my rifle. Trinity, with me, she aimed beside me, hand steady despite her shaking breaths. The thing lunged. We fired. Round after round tore into its body, flesh bursting, metal sparking. It screamed, jerking with every hit, but it didn't stop. It clawed forward, closer, closer. Trinity shouted, "Deckard!" Then Milo screamed from above. "They're up here. Oh God, they're waiting." I looked up. Silhouettes leaned over the shaft's rim. Robes. Pale hands. The cultists. Milo's scream echoed down as their arms reached for him. Trinity's shots echoed in my ears, the hybrid screech filling the chamber. And in that moment, I realized we were trapped between monsters of flesh and iron below, and something far worse above. There was no way out. Milo's scream ripped through the shaft, raw and terrified. Above, the robed silhouettes leaned down, pale hands clawing at him. Their fingers wrapped his arms, his legs. He kicked, thrashed, boots scraping sparks against the wall. "Deckard!" His voice cracked. "Help me. Don't let them." I lunged toward the base of the shaft, rifle raised, shots slamming upward. Sparks burst, stone chips raining down. The cultists withdrew just long enough for Milo to scramble another meter. Trinity screamed into comms. "Climb, Milo. Climb." He tried. God, he tried. I could hear his sobbing breaths through the comm, frantic and broken. "They've got me, they've got." A hand wrapped around his helmet. With a sudden jerk, he vanished over the rim. His scream cut off. Trinity's breath hitched into a sob. She fired upward wildly, bolts sizzling against the stone. "No, no." Arlen grabbed her arm, pulling the muzzle down before she drained the clip. His voice was low, steady. "He's gone." The hybrid shrieked again, dragging its broken body closer across the chamber floor. Its glowing eyes fixed on us, jaws grinding. I forced the grief down, pushed it into the pit already filling inside me. Move! Now! We bolted through the opposite passage, the hybrid scraping behind us. The whispers surged louder in my skull, a rhythm syncing with my pounding heart. Trinity's voice shook as she ran. Deckard, they took him. He's God, they took him. I know, I said. My throat burned. We'll get him back. But even as I said it, I didn't believe it. The passage spat us out into another chamber. This one industrial, filled with massive gears grinding slow, endless cycles. Bridges crisscrossed above pits of molten metal, furnaces blazing heat against our suits. The scale was staggering, mechanical intestines churning forever. Arlen scanned the bridges. Surface access. North quadrant. Trinity's visor swiveled toward him, desperate. If Milo's still alive. He's gone, Arlen said flatly. You saw. She rounded on him, voice breaking. Don't you dare. Don't you dare write him off like Morpheus. The hybrid screeched from the passage behind, dragging itself into the chamber. Sparks sprayed where its claws scraped metal. No time to argue. North quadrant, I snapped. Move! We sprinted across a narrow bridge, the heat rising in shimmering waves. Below, rivers of molten metal churned like a hellish sea. Sparks floated upward, stinging against our visors. The hybrid followed, faster now, limbs jerking but relentless. Its scream echoed through the furnace halls. Halfway across, the bridge shook. I stumbled, caught myself against the railing. A low rumble tremored through the metal. At first I thought it was the hybrid. Then the furnace floor erupted. A massive shape tore itself upward, molten fire cascading from its wings. Not wings. Blades, serrated and jointed, glowing with heat. Its body was a fusion of scaled flesh and armored plating, eyes burning white. A beast, birthed from the foundry itself. Too big for the chamber, but unfolding anyway. Trinity's voice broke into a cry. What the hell is that? The winged creature shrieked, a sound so loud it rattled the bridge bolts. It launched upward, molten streams spraying from its body. The bridge cracked. Run! I bellowed. We sprinted, the bridge groaning under us. Behind, the hybrid was torn from the structure, plunging into molten fire, its screech cut off in a hiss. The winged beast didn't care. It rose, unfolding toward the ceiling, too massive, too unstoppable. Arlen fired upward, rounds sparking against armored scales. They bounced harmlessly away. Doesn't hurt it, Trinity screamed. I grabbed her arm, dragging her forward. The end of the bridge loomed ahead. A platform, a lift rising toward a tunnel. Our only chance. The beast dove. The bridge shattered behind us, molten metal spraying. We leapt the last gap, hitting the platform hard. My knee screamed with pain, but I hauled myself up, yanking Trinity beside me. Arlen landed with silent precision, already hitting the lift controls. The platform jolted, rising. The beast slammed against the underside, claws tearing, the whole lift rattling. I held the railing tight, teeth gritted, praying the bolts would hold. Trinity's voice cracked. Deckard, it's following, it's coming up. Arlen fired down, shots useless against armored hide. The creature lunged again, jaws snapping just short of the platform edge. Then, as if summoned, a blast of searing energy slammed into its side. The beast howled, wings flaring, tumbling back into the furnaces. Fire swallowed a hole. We stared, stunned, as the platform rose higher. Trinity's breath rasped. What just? Then the comms hissed. A voice cut through, guttural, mechanical, layered like broken glass. This world belongs to the Kitharon. Trespassers bleed. The words sent ice through my veins. Trinity whispered, Kitharon. Oh God. Deckard, it's them. The platform rattled to a stop at the upper tunnel. Ahead, light glowed. Not the cold light of the factory, but weapons fire. Dull pulses lit the passage walls, shadows of armored figures moving. Arlen crouched low, visor narrowing. Hostiles. Figures advanced, tall, armored, their movements sharp, precise. Their weapons glowed with blue plasma, crackling arcs humming through the air. Symbols etched into their armor pulsed faintly, the same angular script we'd seen on the canyon plates. The Kithaeron. One raised its weapon, voice booming through a translator. "You will not leave this world alive." Trinity's voice broke. "Deckard." I raised my rifle, hands trembling, lungs burning, grief and rage twisting together. "Then we fight." The Kithaeron opened fire, and the world turned to fire and blood. The tunnel spat us out into the open canyons, the cold night air slamming my lungs like knives. Above, the jagged skyline of obsidian rock cut against the sky choked with auroras. The air shimmered with faint blue static, as though the planet itself was charged with power. Our boots pounded the glassy stone. Plasma bolts screamed past, scorching black streaks across the canyon walls. "Run!" I barked, firing behind me. The shots sparked uselessly against Kithaeron armor. Their advance was relentless, precision in every step. Trinity's voice was ragged, desperate. "The ship, we just have to make it back to the Eidolon." Arlen's visor flicked with target reticles. 2 minutes at full sprint. We pelted forward, lungs burning, the enemy fire cutting closer. Sparks lit the night as bolts ricocheted. A sound overhead. I glanced up, then froze. Descending through the clouds came something vast. A Kithaeron warship, black as the void, edges serrated like broken blades. It moved silently, impossibly, blotting out the auroras as it drifted into the canyon airspace. Its underside cracked open with luminous veins of blue. Trinity choked on her breath. "They got a ship, Deckard. They've got a..." A beam of light lanced downward, scouring the canyon floor. Stone vaporized in a blinding flash. The shockwave flung us like dolls. I slammed against the wall, armor ringing, ears full of static. Arlen dragged me upright, visor cracked, eyes cold. "Move!" We staggered on, coughing in the dust, every step a fight. Behind us, the Kithaeron advanced in perfect formation, weapons raised, their voices chanting in that broken glass chorus. Ahead, blessed sight, the Eidolon, its hull gleaming faintly in the aurora glow, anchored against the canyon wall. Her running lights pulsed weakly, battered but still alive. Trinity gasped. "Almost there." The ship's ramp was down, engines whining, auto defenses spitting weak bolts at the Kithaeron. They were barely slowing the enemy. We tore across the final stretch. My boots hit the ramp. Trinity stumbled after me, armor scorched. Arlen spun, covering our retreat, his shots tight, efficient. Inside, I yelled. Trinity collapsed through the hatch, gasping. I hauled Arlen in behind me, slamming the interlock. The Eidolon's interior wrapped around me like a failing heartbeat. Sparks rained from torn conduits. Alarms howled, the deck trembling under external fire. Trinity ripped off her helmet, face slick with sweat and tears. "We have to go. We have to get off this planet." Arlen keyed the comms. "Bridge. Status. Static." Then Vera's voice, tight with pain. "Engines offline. They hit us hard. We're trying." Her voice broke in static as another blast rocked the hull. I staggered toward the command deck, the corridors shuddering with every impact. The Eidolon felt like a wounded animal under my boots, straining, groaning, alive in its own dying way. The bridge doors slid open. Vera sat slumped against the console, blood streaking her temple, eyes wide with fury. Her hands danced over controls, rerouting power, trying to coax life back into the engines. "They're everywhere," she snapped. "Deckard, we're boxed." On the forward display, the Kithaeron warship loomed massive, its hull bristling with energy veins. Smaller dropships detached, angling toward us like hunting birds. Trinity's voice cracked. "We can't fight that. We don't. We don't have the firepower." "Then we don't fight it," I growled. "We survive it." The first dropship slammed onto the hull. The deck rang like a struck bell. Arlen drew a blade from his harness, monomolecular, its edge catching the blue emergency lights. His voice was calm, almost eager. "Boarders." A screech tore through the corridors, metal ripped open like paper. The ship shook as atmosphere vented, auto seals hissing into place. Then the sound of boots, metallic, heavy, deliberate, flooded the halls. The Kithaeron were inside. Vera snarled, pulling a sidearm from the console. "Bridge hold. We don't let them take this ship." The first one appeared through the smoke, a towering armored figure, its blade crackling with plasma arcs. Its visor glowed pale blue, symbols crawling across it like living script. Trinity screamed, firing wildly. Bolts ricocheted, sparks flying. The Kithaeron advanced undeterred. I met it head-on. My rifle roared point-blank, round after round hammering until its armor cracked. Blue ichor sprayed as it staggered back, hissing like acid against the deck. Arlen was already on another, blade flashing, cutting through armor at impossible angles. His movements were precise, almost surgical. He severed joints, ducked plasma swings, and moved like the battle was a dance he'd practiced for years. But for everyone we dropped, more poured in. The bridge became chaos. Smoke, sparks, screams, the clash of metal on metal. Vera fell, a bolt burning through her chest. Trinity sobbed, dragging her back, blood slicking her gloves. "Vera, stay with me, stay." Vera's eyes found mine, glassy with pain. "Don't let them take her." Her hand twitched toward Trinity, then went still. Trinity wailed, firing blind into the smoke, grief breaking her aim. The Kithaeron surged. We were being overwhelmed, pressed back step by step. Arlen's visor cracked as a plasma blade raked across his helmet. He stumbled, bleeding, but didn't fall. His knife buried itself in the attacker's throat, twisting until sparks burst. "Deckard!" Trinity screamed. "There's too many." She was right. We couldn't hold the bridge. Couldn't hold the ship. A decision cut through me like a blade. Survival wasn't here. Not on the Eidolon. "Fall back!" I roared. "Escape pods! Now!" Trinity's eyes widened, terrified. We can't leave." Arlen grabbed her arm, dragging her back. "Move!" We tore down the burning corridors, the ship dying around us, lights flickering, smoke choking the air. Behind, the Kithaeron followed, their voices chanting in that layered, inhuman chorus. The pod bay doors slid open. 3 pods, 2 already ruptured, slagged by plasma fire. 1 remained. Arlen shoved Trinity toward it. "Go!" She balked. "What about you? What about?" "I'll hold them," he said. "No," she screamed. "Not again, you can't." The footsteps closed in, the blue glow flooding the corridor. I grabbed her, shoving her into the pod. "Trinity, listen to me. Survive." Her eyes locked on mine, streaming with tears. "Deckard, please." The Kithaeron rounded the corner. I slammed the hatch, hit the launch. The pod roared away, vanishing into the void. Arlen stood beside me, blade in hand, as the Kithaeron advanced. His visor glowed with the reflection of their weapons. He tilted his head slightly, almost amused. No more running. The corridor filled with light as the Kithaeron descended on us. Consciousness returned in fragments. Cold stone beneath me. A pressure in my skull, like it had been pried open. The stink of ozone and burned metal clung to the air. I opened my eyes, slowly, painfully. The chamber was vast and cathedral-like, but wrong in every way. The walls weren't carved. They grew, jagged glass fused with metal, veins of blue fire pulsing through them like a circulatory system. Shapes moved in the walls, shadows or bodies, I couldn't tell. Chains of black alloy bound my wrists, fixed into the floor. My armor was gone, stripped down to a torn undersuit, skin raw from restraints. Across from me, Arlen knelt in similar shackles. His helmet was gone too, his face pale under the glow, eyes sharp despite the blood dried along his jawline. "Deckard," he rasped. His voice was steady, as if he'd been waiting for me to wake. "Welcome back." I groaned, trying to shift against the bindings. They burned cold at my skin, tightening when I strained. Where the hell are we?" His eyes flicked to the walls. Inside their ship, or inside it in something else. Can't tell if this place is alive or built. I looked closer at the walls, and my stomach lurched. They were breathing. A low vibration rolled through the chamber, a chorus of whispers layered in a dozen tones. The Kithaeron entered. They emerged from the walls themselves, armor luminous, blades dripping with pale fire. They moved with a terrifying grace, each step echoing like ritual. One approached, taller than the rest, its visor a seamless sheet of obsidian lit from within by crawling runes. Its voice was not a voice. It was a fracture in reality, every word splintered across dimensions. Vessels, shells, witnesses to the eclipse. The sound drilled into my skull. I bit down a cry, blood slicking my teeth. Arlen's jaw tightened, but he didn't make a sound. "What do you want?" I spat, my voice cracking. The figure leaned close, its visor inches from my face. The crawling runes seared my vision, each symbol wrong, writhing like living parasites. The Eidolon calls. It was not yours to wield. You trespass. You corrupt the silence. Eidolon. My ship. My home. My dying heartbeat. You mean the ship? I forced the words out. What are you talking about? The runes flare brighter. Not ship. Seed. Wound in the veil. It was hidden, buried, chained in the void. You dug it up. You woke it. Now it remembers. The chamber pulsed with light, the walls rippling. Images stuttered in my head. Flashes of the Eidolon's hull, but bleeding light from beneath its plating, as if it was only a shell over something older. I clenched my teeth. You're saying the Eidolon, it's one of yours? The Kithaeron tilted its head. Not ours. Older. We are its wardens. Its jailers. You are infection within it. A chill stabbed down my spine. Infection. That's what we were to them. Parasites inside their sacred wound. Arlen finally spoke, his voice calm, almost amused. If you're wardens, you're failing. The Eidolon's awake. She answers to us now. The chamber shuddered violently, lights flaring. The Kithaeron hissed in unison, voices layering until the walls rattled. The leader stepped back, raising one clawed hand. Arcs of light snapped across my chains. Pain ripped through me, raw and total, burning along my nerves like liquid lightning. I screamed until my voice tore. Through the haze, I heard the Kithaeron's words hammer into my skull. The Eidolon has no master. It remembers the war, the eclipse, the hunger. It will consume you as it consumed the stars before you. The visions came again, planets cracked like glass, stars imploding under invisible hands, cities of crystal drowned in fire. A war older than history, waged in silence, erased from memory. And always, always the shape of the Eidolon, drifting, feeding, a parasite disguised as salvation. My mind reeled. I forced the images away, clinging to my own breath, my own self. Arlen was watching me, unflinching even as sparks crawled across his chains. His voice was steady, defiant. If the Eidolon's a weapon, then maybe it chose us. Maybe it wants to be free. The Kithaeron surged forward in fury. The leader pressed its hand to Arlen's chest. He convulsed, teeth bared, but he didn't cry out. His veins glowed blue under his skin, symbols crawling across his flesh like tattoos etched in fire. I shouted his name, but my voice was swallowed by the chamber's roar. The Kithaeron withdrew, leaving Arlen slumped, smoking, eyes wide with something I couldn't read. Not pain, not fear, something colder. He looked at me, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if it was Arlen staring back. The leader spoke again. Your keys. The Eidolon requires vessels to steer its awakening. One will break. One will bind. We will see what you become. The others began to chant, voices overlapping, shaking the chamber. The walls peeled back, revealing a vast drop into infinity. Through the opening I saw it, hanging in the void like a god's carcass, the Eidolon. But it wasn't the ship I knew. Its hull writhed with glowing script. Plates shifted like skin, veins of fire crawling outward into the stars. The engines pulsed like a living heart, and its voice throbbed in my skull, layered, ancient, endless. It wasn't a ship. It was alive. The Kithaeron raised their blades toward it in reverence, voices breaking the air. Arlen's chains released suddenly. He staggered to his feet, but didn't fall. The runes still burned along his skin, glowing with each pulse of the Eidolon outside. The leader turned to me. Witness. One walks the path of binding. The other will be broken. Arlen's eyes locked on mine, cold fire burning in them. And in that instant, I didn't know if he was still my brother in arms or something else entirely. The chamber buckled around us. The Kithaeron chant rose to a fever pitch, vibrating in my bones, as the Eidolon filled the void beyond the opening. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was blooming, tearing itself apart into fractal shapes, infinite structures unfolding from its hull like mirrors splitting reality. Arlen stood unchained, glowing symbols crawling across his skin, eyes fixed on the monstrosity outside. He didn't look human anymore. He looked chosen. Arlen. I croaked, my throat raw from screams. Fight it. You're still you. He turned his head slowly, and for a second I thought I saw him. The man who'd pull me out of fire, who'd laugh with me in the cargo hold when the fuel ran dry, who'd sworn we'd never leave one another behind. But the second passed. His voice was alien, layered with a resonance that wasn't his. I see now, he said. The Eidolon isn't a curse. It's freedom. It was caged just like us, and it chose me to open the way. The Kithaeron leader raised its blade in salute, runes burning hotter across its armor. The binder rises. The broken shell watch. Chains snap from my wrists. I collapse forward, gasping. They weren't freeing me. They wanted me to witness. Arlen stepped toward the rift, toward the Eidolon's living light. The walls stretched and warped around him, the void humming in approval. Don't do this, I shouted, forcing myself to my knees. If you give yourself to it, you're gone. It's not freedom. It's feeding on you. He paused, just long enough for me to believe he'd listen. His eyes flicked back at me. For a heartbeat, they softened. Then the runes blazed brighter, erasing doubt. I was born for this, Deckard, he whispered. The Eidolon roared, without sound, without words, only hunger. I lunged. The Kithaeron moved to intercept, but something slammed into the chamber. An explosion that ripped the walls in half. Fire and shrapnel poured through, and with it Trinity. Her shuttle, patched, battered, bleeding sparks, was wedged in the opening, half inside the Kithaeron cathedral. Her voice crackled through my implant. Deckard, move! Chaos erupted. Kithaeron warriors reeled under the blast, their chant broken. Trinity fired from the cockpit, plasma cutting arcs through the glowing walls. I staggered toward her, but Arlen intercepted me. His hand clamped my chest, stronger than it should have been. Veins of light burned under his skin, his grip unbreakable. You don't understand, he hissed. This is bigger than us. I can steer it. I can end them. End all of them. I stared at him, my brother, my friend, and realized he believed it. He thought he could control the uncontainable. No, I whispered. It'll end you. I drew the blade one of the Kithaeron had dropped, its edge still hissing with alien fire. And before Arlen could stop me, I drove it through his side. His scream was not his own. Light spilled from him in torrents, burning the runes from his flesh. His grip loosened. For a second, his eyes cleared, human again, wide with shock and sorrow. Deckard, he choked, voice breaking. The Eidolon pulled him. Light seized his body, tearing him away from me, dissolving him into its endless lattice. His scream stretched into silence, swallowed by the living ship. Then the Eidolon faltered. Its fractal bloom stuttered, collapsing inward, reality snapping shut around it. The Kithaeron shrieked, their armor splitting, their visors cracking under the feedback. The chamber tore apart in seismic waves. Deckard! Trinity screamed. Now! I stumbled, dove into the shuttle's open hatch as the cathedral exploded around us. Trinity yanked the controls, tearing the craft free. Behind us, the Kithaeron ship imploded into nothing, sucked into the Eidolon's collapse. And then, silence. The void stretched out, stars cold and distant. No sign of the Eidolon. No sign of Arlen. Just ashes in the veil. We drifted for hours, systems failing one by one. The shuttle was barely holding together, sparks leaping from ruptured panels. My body ached in every nerve, but the deeper wound was elsewhere. Arlen was gone. I'd killed him, or saved him. Maybe both. Trinity sat in the pilot's chair, her face pale in the starlight. She didn't look at me when she spoke. You did what you had to. I swallowed hard. Did I? Silence hung between us. Finally, She exhaled. You saw what that thing was. If he gave himself to it, we'd all be gone. You saved more than you lost. I wanted to believe her, but the memory of his eyes, the second they'd cleared, burned in me like acid. We set course for the nearest drift lane, the shuttle coughing and groaning. Fuel was low. Air was thinner than comfort allowed. But the stars were ahead, endless and waiting. Trinity leaned back, her voice quieter now. You know this won't be the last. Out here, there's always something, another Kitharon, another Eidolon, another horror buried in the dark. The universe doesn't care if we live through it. I stared at the stars, endless and sharp as broken glass. No, but we'll keep moving anyway. Her eyes flicked to me, tired but alive. A faint smile cracked her lips. Because we're greedy bastards who can't quit? Because someone has to, I said. And if there's fortune in it, all the better. Silence stretched again, but softer this time. Companionship, fragile as it was, survived. The stars wheeled on. The shuttle groaned. And Trinity and I sat side by side, contemplating the next mission, knowing the void would never run out of monsters. We were alive. For now. And in this universe, that was enough.